Lassen.
Don't forget school.
Lesson ni gani? Hmm?
Morning, students. I hope you can hear me. Sorry, I'm unable to see any one of you, or your cameras are turned off. Those who can, I advise that you who can. Those who can afford, kindly turn your video cameras on. You can see we have Alan Mokua, William Mutua, Gregory Kago, Damian Beke, Salat, Alex Mokua, Edwin, Zablon, Louis, William. Gregory, you are signed in using 2 devices. I'm fine, I can see you, most welcome. So far we are 29, waiting for more students to come in before we get started. Craig Onyancha, kindly change what I can call your profile. Yes, that is better. Okay, thank you. All right, dear students, this is Mr. Obwoge Yona. I want to take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you to our lesson today. I trust that our God has kept you quite safe since you left school. You have had opportunity to do so much, and we continue with our commitment to guide you in your studies. This morning, I want us to take time to look at one of the areas that we need to study. Our topic of discussion today is effective communication. Effective communication. You will need to do some writing, a lot of it. Effective communication. And specifically, we are looking at negotiation skills. Negotiation skills. All right. The skills that you require for negotiation include the following. The skills which are required for negotiation skills include the following. Number 1, effective verbal communication. Effective verbal communication. Stroke what I can call effective speaking. Effective speaking. The second skill is listening, listening. The third one is reducing misunderstandings, reducing misunderstandings. Number 4, rapport building, rapport building, rapport building. Number 5, problem solving, problem solving. Chris, next, Chris, decision making, decision making, decision making. Number 7, assertiveness. You need to be assertive in your negotiation. The number 8, dealing with difficult situations. Dealing with difficult situations. Those are the skills you need to acquire when you want to engage in a negotiation. Having said that, allow me to say the following, that then what is negotiation? We can say that in my own words, negotiation is a method by which people settle differences. Negotiation is a method by which people settle differences. It is a process. It is a process by which compromise or agreement is reached while avoiding argument and dispute. Allow me to repeat that. I've said that negotiation is a method by which people settle differences. It is a process by which compromise or agreement is reached while avoiding arguments and disputes. So we are saying that through negotiation, we are able to sort out, we are able to settle issues that affect us in society without ending up with a dispute or a disagreement or bad blood. I want to give you a very good example. You are aware of something called the Nile Treaty, whereby agreements by some countries on how to utilize the fresh water from Lake Victoria. This is a lake shared by some countries in East Africa. And now with our growing demands of fresh water and need for use of this water for other functions, for example, irrigation and so on, these countries can decide to go against the Nile Treaty and come up with new ways of utilizing the water from Lake Victoria. By so doing, that will affect the other countries that benefit from these results. As a result, that may result in some conflict, and at worst, even might lead into war. So to avoid that, if still they want to benefit maximally from these results, this could be that they re-enter negotiation, they see the ground on a number of areas, and they agree on the new way in which they are going to utilize these resource. That is an example of an area where a negotiation is required. So we continue and say, in any disagreement, individuals understandably aim to achieve the best possible outcome for their position. In any disagreement, individuals understandably aim to achieve the best possible outcome for their position. Let me try to explain this in a way that you can easily relate with. Assuming we are back in school and we want to discuss on the kind of menu that you should have as students. As a school, for example, we come up with a proposal that we need to feed you on githeri 5 days a week, and then you take rice 2 days a week. You send a delegation led by the school captain, the DH captain, and the other captains to discuss with school administration on the best diet that you should have. So in that case, remember, we have two parties. We have the school administration and we have the students' body. The issue is there is need for the two parties to agree on the menu that the students will have during their stay in school. And in relation to what I've just said, that in each case, each party will try their best to achieve the best possible outcome for their position. In that case, the students could wish that they take rice for more days as compared to githeri. Equally, the school position could be that as much as possible, they gain on their position. And the school position could be that students take githeri for as many days as possible, such that in this discussion, in line with gaining so much as far as the position is concerned, it will imply that at the end of it all, in a win-win situation, both parties will need to cede some ground so that they reach a compromise. I think that is the example that you can relate with very well. So we say, however, the principles of fairness, seeking mutual benefit and maintaining a relationship are the keys to a successive outcome. In all our negotiations, we must ensure that we remain fair, we seek mutual benefit, and we maintain a relationship, even in a family, Assuming you have a dispute over land as brothers and sisters, One, in sorting out that problem or that dispute, and it happens in a number of families, we need to look at the aspect of fairness. As we get the formula of sharing this piece of land, at the end of it all, are we fair to each other? Or some people want to advance a proposal that one should have a larger share than the other siblings in a family. So we are addressing the issue of fairness as far as sorting that issue is concerned. We have mutual benefit. Are we all going to benefit from this understanding that we want to broker? Are we going to benefit? Is there mutual benefit for all of us? And above all, we need to keep our relationship. We need to maintain our relationship. We do not want a case whereby, for example, we are dealing with an aspect of sharing land at home, and in the course of our negotiation, in the course of trying to sort out this problem, at the end of it all, we are left divided. At the end of this discussion, at the end of the negotiation, we should still maintain our relationship as a family if we are handling this issue at that level. Then there are stages of negotiation. There are stages of negotiation. So in order to achieve a desirable outcome, it may be useful to follow a structured approach to negotiation. In order to achieve a desirable outcome, it may be possible to follow a structured approach to negotiation. For example, in a work situation, a meeting may need to be arranged in which all parties involved can come together for negotiation. And the process of negotiation includes the following stages. These are the stages that you need to follow in a negotiation. Stage number one, preparation. We have the preparation stage. Stage number two, discussion. So you prepare, then you have an opportunity for discussion. So discussion is our stage number two. Then number three, clarification of goals. That's our third stage, clarification of goals. Number four, negotiate towards a win-win outcome. Negotiate towards a win-win outcome. Number five, agreement. Agreement is our fifth stage. And then number six, we have implementation of a course of action. Implementation of a course of action. My dear students, allow me to take you through each of the stages that I have mentioned to you. Now we start with the first one, preparation, and this is what we have. Before any negotiation takes place, a decision needs to be taken. A decision needs to be taken as to when and where a meeting will take place to discuss the problem and who will attend. That is the preparation we are making. Number one, remember, there is a problem. There is a dispute that needs to be sorted out. That is the first appreciation that we have on the table. Then we need to agree where this will take place. We need to agree who will attend the meeting where this negotiation will be carried out to discuss the problem, who will attend. Then, still under preparation, we need to agree on a limited time scale. Limited time scale, which is very crucial to help prevent the disagreement continuing. Under this, dear students, I want to bring in the example of what we had some time back in the year 2007-2008 national elections. We had disputed results, which pitted former President Mwai Kibaki against former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. So there was need for negotiation. Remember, the country got into a stage where we lost lives, we lost property, our economy was affected, and the country was becoming quite ungovernable. So our leaders found it necessary to get to a negotiation table to sort out that problem. So in terms of preparation, this was done. Remember, the international community also came in. We had the former UN Secretary General, Kofi Annan. We had the late Benjamin Mkapa come in. We had the former President Jakaya Kikwete come in, and a number of leaders who were concerned with the situation in Kenya. So it was agreed, we had a case whereby who were the people to participate in this negotiation. So we had both parties. Now we had the party of His Excellency Mwai Kibaki, and the party of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga come up with proposals on members on each side. I remember for the part of Excellency Mwai Kibaki, we had Martha Karua, Sam Ongeri, and Martha Karua, Kilonzo Mtula, and other people. Then we had a team of equal number from this other side. Then they agreed that the negotiations were to take place in Nairobi, specifically in a place called Serena Hotel. And they had a time limit when these negotiations were to take place. In those negotiations, they pointed out what the salient issues were, what the major issues were. They had them discussed and finally got us to where we got into with peace. But that is as far as preparation is concerned. Still, the preparation stage ensures that all the pertinent facts of the situation are known. All the pertinent facts of the situation are known in order to clarify your own position. In order to clarify your own position. In the work example, this could include knowing the rules of your organization, to whom help is given, when help is not felt appropriate, and the grounds for such refusals. You need to understand the policies that are in place in every situation. Then undertaking the preparation before discussing the disagreement will help to avoid further conflict and unnecessarily wasting time during the meeting. We need to agree from the word go on what the issues are, how we are going to discuss, and this is very important to avoid the aspect of wasting time in the course of the discussion during the meeting. That's number one. Dear students, our second point is on discussion. We are now at the discussion level. We are prepared for the meeting. We have agreed on the venue. We have agreed on the members. We have agreed on the issues. Now we are at discussion level as our second stage. Under discussion level, during this stage, individuals or members of each side put forward the case as they see it. They put forward their case as they see it. That is to say, their understanding of the situation, their understanding of the situation. They state the understanding of the situation that makes them feel aggrieved. Now, under discussion as a stage, this is where you require a number of skills for you to execute your discussion well. You require skills such as questioning. You need to question a number of aspects. You require the skill of listening. You require the skill of clarification. You need to seek clarifications. Remember, it's from your manner of questioning that will guide you to bring out your strong points. It is by effective listening that you will get the issues as articulated well, so that you are in a position to respond. It's by seeking clarification that you understand these issues in a better manner. Dear students, recently you heard of a dispute in the county of Kirinyaga, pitting the MCAs, again, the members of the County Assembly of Kirinyaga against Her Excellency the Governor, Anne Waiguru. When the matter got to the Senate, the legal counsel representing the Honorable Waiguru took time to do a number of things. For those of you who had the opportunity to watch those proceedings, they were very keen on questioning. They were very keen when it came to listening, and they were very keen on seeking clarifications. Because of those strong positions, finally, their arguments carried the day. It is important to take notes during a discussion. At the discussion stage, it's important to take notes. Record all points put forward in case there is need for further clarification. Do not over-rely on your memory. At the times, it can let us down. Write down something. Even now, as we continue with this lesson, you see, I'm not where you are. I advise you to take notes. Do not over-rely on your memory. At times, it can let you down. So you record all the points put forward in case there is need for further clarification. It is important to listen, as when disagreements take place, it is it is easy to make the mistake of saying too much and listening too little. Very possible. Whenever there are disagreements, we feel aggrieved, we tend to talk too much and fail to listen well. Each side should have an equal opportunity to present their case. Each side should have an equal opportunity to present their case. That is to say, if we want to allocate time to the two disagreeing parties, if we are allocating 30 minutes, we should be fair to each of the sides. Side A gets their 30 minutes, and side B also gets their 30 minutes. By so doing, you gain the confidence of the parties in dispute. Dear students, we are now moving to our third point, that is clarifying goals. Our third point on clarifying goals. From the discussion, the goals, interests, and viewpoints of both sides of the disagreement need to be clarified. So the goals, the interests, and the viewpoints of both sides of the disagreement need to be clarified. It is helpful to list these factors in order of priority. Through this clarification, it is often possible to identify or establish some common ground. Remember, in any negotiation, what we want to come up with is a win-win situation where fairness is exercised. So we have said it's important that the goals, the interests, and the viewpoints of both sides of the disagreement need to be clarified. It is helpful to list these factors in the order of priority. We need to list them down in order of priority. Through these clarifications, it is possible to identify or establish some common ground. Clarification is an essential part of the negotiation process. It's very essential in negotiation process. We need to clarify issues. Without clarification, misunderstandings are likely to occur. Without clarifications, misunderstandings are likely to occur, which may cause problems and barriers to reaching a beneficial outcome, which means if we have a misunderstanding in the course of our negotiation, that will be a barrier to us, and this will prevent us from reaching an outcome that is beneficial to the parties that are involved in this discussion or in this negotiation. My dear students, I hope we are moving at a reasonable pace, and as much as possible, I'll try to slow down so that you get all the important points in our lesson. Now we are moving to our fourth point, point number 4, or stage number 4, which is negotiate towards a win-win outcome. What's a win-win outcome? Negotiate towards a win-win outcome. Dear students, remember, whenever an issue is brought to your attention that requires some negotiation, remember the most important thing is that at the end of it all, the parties should leave the negotiation table satisfied. They should not leave that table where you are having that discussion with hard feelings or with aggrieved hearts. They should be satisfied that they have won, and that will depend on how this is carried out. All right, this stage focuses on what is termed as a win-win outcome. A win-win outcome where both sides or both parties feel that they have gained something positive. They have gained something positive through the process of negotiation. And both sides feel their point of view has been taken into consideration. They feel that their points of view, their sides have been considered, they have been taken into consideration. That is why in our negotiation, we need to be very keen on the language that we use to ensure we do not demean anybody. Even if we do not agree with a given position, we appreciate it so that we create a rapport, we create some good understanding, we argue on facts and on fairness, and at the end of it all, we feel appreciated. We feel that our sides were taken into consideration, so that at the end of it all, when a decision is made, you find that it's binding to both sides. That's the point we are making here. All right. A win-win outcome is usually the best result. A win-win outcome is usually the best result in a case where there is a dispute. Although this may not always be possible through negotiation, although this may not always be possible through negotiation, it should be the ultimate goal. It should be the ultimate goal, that at the end of it all, we have a win-win situation as much as possible. This should be our goal in any discussion that involves a dispute that's being solved. Suggestions of alternative strategies and compromises. Suggestions of alternative strategies and compromises need to be considered at this point. They need to be considered at this point. Chris, pay attention. Suggestions of alternative strategies and compromises need to be considered at this point. Compromises are often positive alternatives which can often achieve greater benefit for all concerned compared to holding to the original positions. Very important. Suggestions of alternative strategies and compromises need to be considered at this point, and compromises are often positive alternatives which can often achieve greater benefit for all concerned compared to holding to the original positions. Thank you. Now our fifth stage is agreement. The stage of agreement. We have had our discussion. We have tried to sort our dispute. And now we are at the stage of agreement. And that is our fifth stage. Under this, we say the following. Agreement can be achieved once understanding of both sides' viewpoints and interests have been considered. Agreement can be achieved. Agreement can be achieved once understanding of both sides' viewpoints and interests have been considered. So we need to get to this discussion with open minds. We do not need to be biased. We need to be fair. If at all, we need to assist the parties in dispute. It is essential for everybody. It is essential for everybody involved to keep an open mind. Keep an open mind in order to achieve an acceptable solution. We need to keep an open mind. Don't keep to a hard position. Don't be a hardliner. You need to keep an open mind. If there is a view that is presented and you think it's convincing, you can buy it. Don't say, I can't reason with you. I can't agree with you. No, remember we have said it should be a win-win situation. Keep an open mind in order to achieve an acceptable solution. Any agreement needs to be made perfectly clear. Any agreement we reach needs to be made very clear so that both sides know what has been decided. We have had cases of people who are in a dispute and in a negotiation. At the end of it all, there is a conclusion, and the people leave the table of negotiations without clarity on what has been decided, what has been agreed, and what has been achieved. That's why we are saying the agreement made should be very clear, should be perfectly clear, so that both sides know what has been decided. Dear students, we are now moving to our sixth point, stage number 6, implementing a course of action. We are involved in a negotiation. We have made agreements, and now what we need to do is to implementing a course of action. Okay. From the agreement, a course of action has to be implemented to carry through the decision. From the agreement, a course of action has to be implemented to carry through the decision. Remember in the example I gave you concerning the dispute of elections we had in 2007-2008, there was an agreement that was reached, and it basically involved the sharing of power. What happened? So both sides had opportunity to share power in the various sectors of our government, and indeed it gave us peace for some time, so long as that agreement was implemented. Okay, so I've said from the agreement, a course of action has to be implemented to carry through the decision. Next, I want you to understand the following. I want us to look at what I can call failure to agree. Failure to agree. Remember, I told you that in a negotiation, we have the stages which we have gone through. Number one, we have looked at the preparation stage. Then number two, discussion stage. Number three, the stage of clarification of goals. Number four, negotiate towards a win-win situation. Number five, the stage of agreement. And the last stage is the stage of implementation of a course of action. We have gone through the 6 stages that are necessary in a negotiation. Now, I want us to look at failure to agree. Failure to agree. You know, it's possible you are in a negotiation, you are sorting out a dispute, and it's possible that at times you may fail to agree. It's important that we also look at it. So failure to agree. If the process of negotiation breaks down and agreement cannot be reached, then you need to decide to have a further meeting. You need to organize and plan to have another meeting. Because remember, once there is a dispute and we fail to agree, it means that we have not succeeded in what we were doing. Whenever there is a dispute, the success is that we have to solve this dispute. It has to be sorted. That is when we can say that we have succeeded. Any dispute should not be left pending. It should not be left unresolved, because if that happens, it can escalate to something worse. That is why, as much as possible, even at family level, we do our best to ensure that the disputes that arise are sorted. They are attended to. We get solutions that are acceptable. In a home setup, depending on the community where you come from, we have had cases, remember, resources are scarce. We might not afford fees to take all of you to school. At times, you find that a decision has to be made who has to be given priority. Let's say in a home setup, we have siblings in class 4, 5, 6, and we have you in Form 4 now. A case will arise where the family will make a decision that we need to give priority to this candidate in Form 4 because he's approaching the end of his secondary education. After that, I hope you are aware that that opens opportunities for you. Either you can go into employment straight, or you can still further your education now that you will get your A and the government will come in to pay for your fees. Then your brother or sister in class 4 or 5 can also take it up. But our wish is that all of us are in a position to continue. But remember, all these things have to be discussed by all the family members. We agree. Otherwise, if you do not convince your brother in class 6 that things are tough, you need to be given priority, the problem might escalate to something else. He might even commit suicide because he will feel not considered, not valued in his family. That's why it's very important that in all that we do, we agree and we involve everybody. So I've told you that if the process of negotiation breaks down and agreement cannot be reached, it's important to plan for another meeting to have this further discussed. This avoids all parties becoming embroiled in heated discussion or argument. The moment we do that, we will stop the parties from getting involved in heated arguments. Because we know there is hope, we are coming back to the table for negotiation to get our positions heard and considered, which, okay, in a case whereby people get involved in heated discussion or argument, remember, in such cases, we are not getting any solution. When we are engaged in heated arguments, we are not getting any solution. We are simply trying to express our bitterness, our feelings, our emotions, and so on, which finally wastes time, but can also damage future relationships. Very important. At the subsequent meeting, the stages of negotiation should be repeated as indicated in our earlier discussion. When we are having our next meeting for discussion or a negotiation, we repeat the stages that we have indicated. Any new ideas or interests should be taken into account. If, for example, we take a break of 3 days, then we agree to meet again. In the course of our staying away, if we come up with new views, if we come up with new perspectives, when we come to the negotiation table, we should table the views that we have come up with. At this stage, it may also be helpful to look at other alternative solutions and or bring in another person to mediate. We need to bring in another person to assist in the mediation process. Then we can also have what is called informal negotiation. Informal negotiation. There are times when there is need to negotiate more informally. There is need to negotiate informally. At such times, when a difference of opinion arises, it might not be possible for appropriate to go through the stages set out in what we have discussed. Nevertheless, remembering the key points in the stages of formal negotiation may be very helpful in a variety of situations which are considered to be informal. Dear students, in any negotiation, the following 3 elements are important and likely to affect. In any negotiation, the following 3 elements are important and they are likely to affect the outcome of the negotiation. Number 1, attitude. Attitude is very important. Even in your studies that you conduct, your attitude will determine how far you will go in your studies. Attitude, very important. When you are dealing with the people out there, your attitude will determine whether you will relate with them well or you will be in a difficult relationship. So please, all of us have a serious responsibility of working on our attitude towards the various issues that we deal with in our society. Number 2, knowledge. The knowledge you have on a given issue will be very crucial in any negotiation. Very important. So if, for example, you are negotiating on a given matter, as much as possible, you need to have adequate knowledge on the issues under discussion. Point number 3, very important, interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills. Very important also. How do you relate with the people you are in dispute with? You need to understand this. Briefly, let me take you through what I've said. I will start with attitude. All negotiations are strongly influenced by underlying attitudes to the process itself. For example, attitudes to the issues and the personalities involved in the particular case, or attitude linked to personal needs for recognition will affect your participation in a given discussion. Please be aware that negotiation is not an arena for the realization of individual achievements. It's not. There can be resentment of the need to negotiate by those in authority. And number 3, certain features of negotiation may influence a person's behavior. For example, some people may become defensive. That needs to be worked on as far as attitude is concerned. Point number 2 is on knowledge. The more knowledge you possess of the issues in question, the more knowledge you possess of the issues in question, the greater your participation in the process of negotiation. So you need to be knowledgeable on the issues that you are negotiating about. You need to be knowledgeable when you have an argument. And we are told when you are knowledgeable, your participation will be greater and participate well in the process of negotiation. In other words, good preparation is essential. Gain in terms of knowledge. Dear students, even in our discussion today, you are gaining knowledge as you prepare, 1, for your national exams whenever they are called upon, or for life. You are still gaining knowledge. Do your homework and gather as much information about the issues as you can. Knowledge is very essential. Furthermore, the way issues are negotiated must be understood, as negotiating will require different methods in different situations. The way issues are negotiated must be understood. And I've told you, negotiation will require different methods in different situations. Then, in as much as interpersonal skills are concerned, please remember the following: that good interpersonal skills are essential for effective negotiations. Good interpersonal skills are essential for effective negotiations, both in formal situations and in less formal situations, or also in a case of one-to-one negotiations. These skills include, the interpersonal skills I'm talking about include effective verbal communication. You must be in a position to express yourself. That is very important. Listening, you must be an effective listener. Unless you are a good listener, you might not have the advantage of making meaningful contributions in any negotiation. Reducing misunderstandings is a key part of effective negotiation. Very key under interpersonal skills. Reducing misunderstandings is a key part of effective negotiation. I've talked about rapport building, problem solving, decision making. Decision making, assertiveness, and I talked about dealing with difficult situations. Dealing with difficult situations. All right. My dear students, I urge you to learn more about effective conflict resolution and how to mediate personal relationships at home and at your social levels. It's important. These are skills that you will require beyond your life in school as a student. Wherever there are conflicting interests, I've told you that negotiation should be used to find a solution. Even in class, the position where you sit, in the dormitory, that place where you have placed your bed, at times you find that you have consideration for that specific spot. In the library, some of you have seen, some of you have booked some permanent places where you are comfortable to study from. I've seen some of you book those places in advance, meaning that's what you're comfortable with. But in some cases, because of some situations, you might not have an opportunity to book that space in time. And you might get there and find that a student in Form 2 was there earlier than you and has occupied your favorite position in the library. So if you must still take that place, what you need to do is to employ your skills of negotiation to convince these students. For example, look here, my good friend in Form 2. This is the place where I'm comfortable with. I'm in Form 4, I'm preparing for my final year examinations. You have more time to study in this school. Kindly, with lots of respect, I request you to allow me to study here, to make use of this available space. Look at the way we have arrangement in our dormitories in Mango High School. We have space specifically for the Form 4s, for the Form 3s, for the Form 2s, and for the Form 1s, even in the dining hall. Remember, my dear students, those arrangements did not come naturally. They took some negotiation to reach that kind of agreement, which is part of our tradition in Mango High School. That for us to coexist in a very peaceful environment, in a very peaceful understanding, we have a way in which we operate. We have space for the Form 4s. That's why you don't see Form 1 studying in your classrooms. They are meant for you. We also have areas meant for other people. And we're also doing, through discussions, through negotiations which were made earlier before us, we have found these as traditions which have served as well with lots of fairness. They do not inconvenience anybody, and we are able to continue in peace. My dear students, remember that whenever there is a dispute, people will have different aims and intentions, especially in business or in politics, during which they try to reach an agreement. It's possible you have seen what happens in our country when it comes to political understanding, sharing of power. Some people can betray their friends because power is sweet and it corrupts. So in a case whereby you have opportunity, you need to discuss and agree how you are going to share this. And whenever there is a dispute, you have had people rush to various organs so that these disputes can be sorted out. At the national and international level, you may have observed the following: that representative groups meetings hold meetings to sort out border and land disputes within or across countries. Like, remember at the moment we have a dispute with Somalia. We have a dispute with Somalia, which still remains unresolved. Some time ago, we had a dispute with Uganda during the reign of President Idi Amin Dada, who wanted Naivasha to be the boundary for Uganda. So those of you in Nakuru, Kericho, Kisii, Migori, and those sites, you were considered to be in Uganda. Had it not been for the tough action of His Excellency the President Jomo Kenyatta. Efforts to gain compensation for historical wrongs, for example, in cases where there is rape and torture, negotiations are made so that these issues are addressed and compensation are awarded. I've told you there have been attempts to rescind on agreements concerning the use of shared waters, for instance, Lake Victoria by neighboring countries. Memorandum of understanding between political parties on how to share political power. Negotiation can also take place at an individual and less formal level. As I've told you, you may have found yourself engaging in some of the following activities, and these require skills. For example, if you go to a market, you want to bargain for a cheaper price for goods and services. So you need to, you don't need to quarrel. You need to agree. It's a win-win situation. You might find in a market an item that costs 200 shillings, somebody offering you a price of 2,000. But depending on your negotiation, that's what will determine on how much you're going to pay for that given product or item or service in a given area. You have seen this. You negotiate and finally you get your best price, which we refer to as equilibrium. You might find yourself in a case whereby you're trying to convince a teacher that you deserve higher marks. I've seen students do that. After you marked our examinations, some students come out and they argue with the teachers. They have a negotiation, and in most cases I've seen those marks improve for the better. Or in marriage. So I'm sure all of you will get to a time when you need to settle down in families, in marriage. You have to identify the person you need to settle down with in life, or you are accompanying a prospective bridegroom to a prospective bride's parents' home to negotiate about bride price. In all this, you understand that negotiations are a part and parcel of life. We need to learn this in good time. And as I indicated earlier, these are skills that you need beyond life in school. You need it beyond your examinations. It may be a simple or a complex process, depending on what it involves. It may be brief or prolonged, depending on the issues that are being dealt with. And it also may involve individuals, groups, clans, tribes, or even nations coming together to make these very important negotiations. Generally, we can say that negotiations have the following characteristics. So we have conflict of interests. We have conflict of interests where the parties do not want the same thing. The parties do not want the same thing. For example, if we are talking about a given agreement, that is not what both parties want. So we call it conflict of interest. Another one would be said to be, they prefer to reach an agreement rather than have the matter resolved or seek arbitration or break contact permanently. You know, depending on how you handle a given matter, it can create permanent enmity. That's why it's important as much as possible. We wish that we have the matter resolved. In some instances, however, such as marriage negotiations, the outcome may be desirable to both parties. You know, we are moving to a capitalistic economy. Issues of marriage are really handled differently from one community to the other. I've told you before that I really appreciate the Kamba community. The process is not complicated. We have done some research and we are told that they are not very demanding, they are very friendly and welcoming. There is the aspect of the three gods in the Kamba community. In the Maasai community, you have to raise a number of cows, quite a number of cows. In other communities, you have to raise a good amount of money for you to be allowed to marry their daughter. And in some communities, you might be lucky to not to have serious demands. So it depends. But all in all, once you have agreed on marriage and you go for negotiation, we expect that you have a win-win situation in that you are able to appreciate your parents-in-law to be in a good way. And they also feel appreciated now that their daughter will be leaving their home. I've told you that the outcome may be decidable to both parties. However, culture dictates demand that negotiations should take place following laid down procedures. We have to follow the process the way it is said. We should not confuse blackmail with negotiation. At times, blackmail should not be part of our negotiation. We should go there with open minds, as I said, with the aspect of a win-win situation. Blackmail is the action of threatening to do something important to someone, such as to reveal a secret about them or harm them, okay? Unless they do your bidding. This should not be the case. We should go there with open minds, have all the facts on the table, we discuss and agree. The tactics employed can range from overbullying to subtle emotional coercion. These are some of the things that people do in a negotiation. Examples of blackmailing include kidnap and hostage situations. Skilled negotiators are often called upon during such crises to reason with the blackmailers or hostage takers in a bid to save lives. You have had this happen. My dear students, I've told you about the process of negotiation, which has a number of steps. We have mentioned them. In some cases, we can talk of preparation. I've talked about that, where you gather out the information you need to support your position. Even when bargaining for goods and services, it helps to know about the product you want to purchase. The knowledge you need. For example, even in shop A, this commodity sells at this price. When you compare it with another shop, it's the same commodity, but the different prices. So because resources are scarce, you need to get a quality item at the best price. So that's why we said you need knowledge. Remember, at the discussion stage, there is what is called the opening, where both sides state their positions for them to be understood, for clarity to be attained. There is a discussion, which we can also refer to bargaining if you are purchasing an item in a market, where you try to bridge the gap between your position through persuasive, planned, logical reasoning. Through this process, one or both will compromise. For example, as I've told you, you may agree to pay slightly more, while the seller may agree to accept slightly less than expected, depending on where you started. I said he started at 2,000, you started at 200, then you can agree that you can compromise on 700 shillings, and both of you leave each other a happy lot with the hope that you will continue to do business. When it comes to closing, which we said is the agreement finally that you make, you bring the negotiation to a close and part peacefully or amicably. If possible, where there was a misunderstanding and now you have reached an agreement, you can end your discussion or your negotiation by shaking hands. That was the case before coronavirus came calling. Yeah? Shaking of hands was a sign of the peace that has been attained, or even sharing a meal that you've buried the hatchet and you are peaceful once again. The process of negotiation depends on the following factors. I've told you the goals of the parties concerned, the personalities of the negotiators, the history and the interdependence between them, the persuasive ability of each party, and now, as time goes by, dear students, you might be called upon to participate in solving disputes, or negotiating for land, or negotiating with an employer for a higher salary, or negotiating for a better service, for example, in a government office, or better still, and admirably, negotiating for marriage. I've had, some of you have had opportunities where you've been lucky to go out there, you met with friends and you have had some kind of negotiations, and they keep you going, that you are learning. You've learned how to negotiate, how to discuss with your friends, how to express yourselves, which is a good skill that you need to master. My dear students, we are now coming to the end of the lesson. So these are the hints for the negotiators. For example, I've told you, ask questions, confirm, and summarize. You need to ask questions. You need to confirm. You need to summarize. These activities ensure that there is no confusion on what each party wants. No confusion on what each party wants. Those are the hints I want to give you for negotiators. The second one is that listen and acknowledge each other's view. Appreciate each other. Do not demean. Do not belittle any given position. Appreciate each other. Affirm the other party. Show that you have listened to and understood their perspective by even talking about it. Make reference to what they said. And by so doing, they will appreciate that indeed you are listening, you value what they said, and then you have your response or your position. The other thing is that you need to respond to negative comments and complaints. Respond to negative comments and complaints. Do not react. You're advised to respond. Since emotions can get out of control, do not let the negotiations get emotional by defending or justifying yourself against criticism. Don't do that. Defense and justification usually cause the other party to harden their position. Simply acknowledge the negative feelings. For example, I can say that I have annoyed you. I'm sorry. Then you proceed to make your point. Be assertive, but please do not be rude. Be assertive, but do not be rude. Do not be rude, but remain assertive. Options. You can both win if you recognize that you share common ground. Arrive at a clear agreement acceptable to both parties. In case your mediation had broken down, I advise that you bring in a mediator from a third group to help you solve the stalemate. And if you are a mediator, therefore, aim at finding a solution that satisfies both parties. Let them know that this is your role and you don't have a given position that you cling to. Do not sit in judgment. Do not sit in judgment over who is right and who is wrong. That is not the aim of mediation. Though you may personally agree with one party rather than the other, do not show that. Do not show that. Recognize both viewpoints in a neutral manner, be objective, and do not be subjective. Do not be subjective. You need to be objective in the decisions that you make. Guide the negotiators, encourage them to find a solution without imposing your views on them. Do not impose your views on them. Open their eyes to the available options without giving orders on what should or should not be done. And they will respect you. They will agree to work with you when they realize that you are guiding them instead of simply siding with one of the parties. Then finally, my dear students, watch your language and that of the negotiators. Do not be rude or condescending to either party. If you notice negative language being used, rephrase it positively. Create a good environment for all the parties to negotiate, to discuss, because your aim is to assist the parties in dispute to reach an amicable solution. My dear students, we have come to the end of our lesson. I want to appreciate you a great deal for availing yourselves. We're coming to the end of our second term next week on Friday. Next week on Friday, we'll come to the end of our second term. That will be the 7th of August, the year 2020. We'll take a break for 1 month, a whole month. We allow you to relax. You have done well. You've done very well. You've been very faithful in attending the lessons. You've been guided by the teachers well, and we thank God. I must apologize. We have not released the results for the exams that you did. We are working on it. Latest by next week, your results will be ready. My dear students, if you allow me, in the course of the day, I will send you some work that you will do in relation to what we have covered. I appreciate, I thank you, and I thank God for keeping us safe. Remain at home during this very difficult moment. Keep social distance, wash your hands, sanitize, and remain safe. From me, my dear students, it's bye-bye till we meet next time. Thank you very much. You are free to take a break now.